recording, I do believe.
Yeah, I see it now. So that's fine. So welcome to this presentation of Multisite Monitor. It is a system that monitors, say, a fleet or a network of power systems. So I can start. Let's just go straight into it. It's a system that requires a logon. Currently, we have, say, separate logons, but we are in the process of implementing support for Active Directory and other remote authentication solutions. But that's nothing. So here is the local version. Just username and password, login. And now hopefully this works. Yeah. So basically, Multisite Monitor is a system that consists of a database server. It's using Microsoft SQL Server as the database. And then we are doing some data processing, communication towards the site controllers, and analysis of the data from each controller and collecting that in one common view. So here you have the tree view of all the sites in this network. It's a nested display, so you can have different groupings based on regions, type of equipment, different backup time levels, etc. So that's up to the customer, and that's easy to to do in an implementation at the customer site. So, for instance, for Delta Sweden, there are more groups, and I think it's currently possible to have 10 levels of groups in this front end. So it gives a flexible way to, let's say, put the top level organization on the data you want to view. It's also searchable, and you can, let's say, group the tree based on different characteristics, such as which systems are currently in alarm. I'll get all those here, which are offline, for instance. I'll get all of them here. You can split it down on different controller types, etc., and different types of equipment. I don't know how relevant that is, but for you guys, but at least the opportunity is there. And you can also do a search for a specific name. Then it will instantly pick the the correct sites and show you those, whether those are matched by the group name or the names of the particular sites. Okay, so the other part of the screen now is the list view. We have a list of all the sites included in the active group you're placed in the tree view. So here you have all the sites in the systems. You have the alarm status and the online/offline status. I have put up some relevant data, but this is configurable. And you always also get the date and time of the last successful polling on a particular site. So you can see that, okay, this is offline, and the last time I was in contact was August 15th. So I probably need to do something about that. Now, there are, you can define several different views for this. So you probably want to look at different type of data because there are different use cases, and you have a limited amount of screen space. So instead of building the table out beyond your screen, you want to have defined workspaces that will show you the relevant data. And the names are, of course, configurable as well. And of course, if you go into a group, you will see the systems included in that group, or you can go into a separate system. There's also a map view. Basically, this can give you the location of the different sites if your controllers have a defined location in them. And here you see that we have some offline sites. You have some sites in alarm. I can press control and left click on the mouse, and I should have been able to see the alarms here. That's strange, but let me get to another system here. This is on the North Cape, the northern tip of Norway. Okay. At least this should give you a high-level overview of the alarms. So I don't know exactly why this is failing. Then, of course, if I see that there is an alarm, I could go in and look at the individual controllers. So for Eltek controllers, we have this web view where you can go to the user interface of the one specific controller and see the status and the alarms. So here I have a nice little collection of alarms. So I don't know why they didn't show up, but this is a development server, so we'll make sure it works in your installation, of course. And of course, if you go into the web interface of the controllers, you have access to all the regular things that you would have in a normal system. Okay, so I got an overview of all the systems. I got individual data from each of the systems. So now I want to look at the systems for a little bit. Of course, I can see all the alarms that are active in the system. Could be useful. And I can also, if I have some alarms that I know are very critical, for instance, battery backup time going below the specified limit, I can set those as important, and then I can say rank the alarms based on that. I can go in and have a look at the battery information of each of the systems. Obviously here there are some issues. All of these are just lab systems or simulated systems, so data here isn't necessarily real, but that's different in live systems. In some parts of the world, grid availability is a big issue, so we have some follow-up on the availability of grid power to the systems. So you can get that on both individual systems and also on group level up to the top level. Journal, this is simply a small notebook to write some notes. For instance, you can have a journal on an individual site to give you some maintenance history, or you can have a journal on a group to explain a little bit more what this grouping is intended to show, and so on. So it's very simple, just a list of notes and with the timestamp. Run hours is giving you some information about how much gensets, batteries, and grid are used for a specific part of this network. Could be useful to generate reports. Then you have inventory for the sites in question, and you can of course list that in the entire network, or you can drill down to the groups and see the inventory on the individual sites. So they will have information about control units, rectifier units, other power units with serial numbers, software versions, and there's also a warranty function that can give you any indication when a particular piece of equipment is going out of warranty, if that's required. So this is useful in maintaining the sites and making sure that you have the equipment and the software revisions that you expect. And here you see also the time this particular inventory was updated. Yeah, SmartPack WebView will give you the web interface of the controllers in the selected group. So you can do that on the top level or on any grouping and on the individual level. So displays will adapt to the number of units to show. It can be a useful feature here if you want to do configuration changes on a number of controllers. You can record the configuration changes that you do in this site, and then store the file and then do a playback to a number of sites. So that's usable if you want to do some small changes, change the voltage level or something similar. And then you have the site event log, which is giving you a total overview of the events in the group you are watching at the moment. So for instance, when I'm here in Delta, Sweden, I will get the events from the event log of all the controllers in this group. Okay, so the inspect is sort of for checking data. Checking data that's immediately available. Then you have some more analysis focused tools. You can compare grid availability, as I said. See. So grid availability can be an issue in different parts of the world, and then you can select different groups and see how they compare to see if you need to do something towards the network operator or similar. The most, or probably the best tool is to do site performance analysis, which will drill down on the performance on, say, the usual key performance indicators, and give you an overview of the energy usage, battery health. So here we have something strange. We have an average battery temperature that's way above what it should be. And we have the symmetry alarm on this site. So I can select the underperforming sites and see only them, and then I can add or go to those in the tree view and see what's actually wrong on those sites. And that goes for all of these different kind of key performance indicators. Connectivity is a big thing. We see that we have some uptime issues, so in a real network, we will probably follow this up quite closely. So it gives you within let's say a very few key clicks, the overview of your total network or the group you have selected to have a look at, so that you can see how your network is performing. I can also go into the change logs of the individual sites. So this is the log of what configurations MSM has been sending to the different sites. So here it's you see it's mainly SNMP config data and so on. Some operations are failing. Then I can open a report and see exactly what has failed. Stored reports. We have a number of reports. Yeah. So these are reports that are automatically generated based on definition, and then per site. So you can have an energy report for one particular site, see the energy that has been used from different sources, from the grid, from the genset, from solar, whatever. These are collected and stored in MSM. KPI is also giving you an overview of the different key performance indicators that you have defined. and give you the opportunity to go straight to the ones that are underperforming and see exactly what the issue is. Also, one new thing that is coming, this is not a released function yet, but you can see the energy trend of one particular site to see what the energy usage is and how it's developed over time. For instance, here we have the rectifier. We have measured load energy, grid phase, and battery. So depends on what you want to see here. You can select and you can graph that, and you can also display it in a table. And I don't know, yeah, here you have some data. So this is a function that is not really developed yet. It's in development. So we'll have the trends also on the group level. So you can see how your entire network is performing also on the energy usage. So these tools are giving you, say, more of an analysis of the health of your network. So you can see on how does my entire network perform and how do the individual sites perform. Okay. What I also can do in this system, we have not set up SNMP communication, but if you have SNMP, you can define that for the controllers, and you can get all the traps coming in here, and you see exactly the alarms from the controllers in real time as they come in. So that's an optional part of the display, and you can also hide the site tree view. So that's configurable. Okay. Of course, in a system like this, there is some administration, site setup. That's how you set up each site. You name them in this system. You give them a priority for ranking the alarms in the alarm ranking view I showed you a bit earlier. You got the IP address, the controller type, the location of the site, and then you have how you want to group it, what templates you want to have, and how SNMP communication is set up, etc. So to add the site is quite simple. You simply need to add the IP address, assign it to one of the groups, or add it to a new group. Select the controller type based on the available controller types, and of course we are supporting mainly Eltek branded controllers and Delta branded controllers, but we also support third-party controllers through SNMP. So you see Huawei here as an example of that. The templates, the site templates will tell you what kind of site this is. I'll show you a little bit later. So you have probably different types of sites with online, offline, perhaps some with PV, some with this kind of controller, this kind of equipment, and so on. So that can be used. Then you have the SNMP configuration or SNMP communication, which can be set up here. And also the mapping of SNMP data to the multi-site monitor data points. Sorry. Oh. Then enter the username and password for the user you want to have. And for Eltek controllers, we have one defined multi-site user that can be set up in each controller. So it's very low configuration threshold here. And of course, HTTPS can be used as well for a site. And you have the ability to add a group, add, delete, and of course do all the necessary operations. You can search for a site based on IP address or name or whatever. And you can also set up the server address for the SNMP trap receiver that can be distributed to the controller so that they send the traps to the correct IP address. Okay, site templates. So they have some options. So for instance, there can be an on-grid, off-grid. Right? Do they have batteries? Do they have solar, wind generator? Do they have mains monitoring? Do they have this Eltek cooling box, which is a specific cooling equipment? So that can be set, and you can also set up the different parameters to monitor for each of these based on what's seen as necessary. So the key parameters are what you decide, not what's decided by the R&D team, right? Okay, let's go back. You also have different class device MIB setup. So for importing the SNMP MIB from a third-party device, you can set up different SNMP data points. So here are predefined setups. So for Eltek SmartPack 2 type of controllers, you have this MIB setup. For Orion controllers, you have this kind of setup, etc. And then, of course, to do the custom setup between MIB file and the data point. Oh, sorry about this. It's I was going to show you how to map an OID to a specific data point, but I seem to have lost some of that access. Yeah, that is Yeah. Okay. At least you have to take my word for it. Any data, any OID in a MIB can be mapped to a data point, but of course it has to be a relevant data point for MSM and for a power system monitoring. Okay, some of the more useful features. Also, you have a large network with different devices. You want to make sure that they have the correct firmware. So you can see on this which sites you have with what controllers, what software, etc. And you can store a repository of software versions that indicate which of the versions that are the preferred or the required option in the system, and then you can update a particular system. So I don't really have control of all the sites, so I'm not going to do that now, but you can select the number of sites to do that and to do an update on, for instance, all the SmartBack 2 master controllers in your network or the SmartBack S controllers in your network. Okay. Battery tests, of course, that is very relevant. You want to make sure that your battery, your backup batteries have the correct capacity and that they have enough capacity to meet the expected hold-up time while the grid is gone. So this gives you an interface to all the battery testing that's been done in your network. And you can go in and have a look at the details of the latest battery tests that has been done in the controller. So this will give you the different voltages, temperatures, etc. over the time of the battery test. You can have that as a chart, or you can have it as a table. So obviously this is just a fake system, so the data looks strange, but this is sort of how it would appear in a regular system as well. So I don't know, maybe some of these have more. And you can start a battery test and stop a battery test as well from this view. You see the battery voltage, current, etc., and the capacity. Then configuration files. You can have a repository of XML configuration files that can be used to configure the individual controllers in your network with that particular file. So any, say, configurable parameter in the controller will have an XML representation so that you can configure easily from this central system and into all of the different controllers in your network. There's also just for convenience, it's a document repository as well, so you can store the documents that are relevant for the network, for instance, user manuals, different site drawings, as built drawings, or whatever you think is relevant. So that can be stored here in this system. Of course, you need to set up users. So here you have the users in the MSM, this particular MSM server. So you can go and edit each user, so directly in this view. And you can define what role each of the users have. If it's a super user that has access to do some things, but not everything. Email, which is just a user that can receive reports through email. Regular user and an admin user. And the basic thing, the super user can set up sites, do groupings, etc. The user cannot do that. He can only monitor the sites, and the admin can do everything, including defining other users. Then maybe you want to split access to the site. So maybe some of your users should not have access to sites in the north, but only in the south, or whatever group you want to, and that is also something that can be set up here. So that's quite easy. You have an indication if the user has been locked out for unsuccessful logon attempts, forgotten passwords, etc. You can do a password reset. That will go to the defined email here. And of course, when we get the Active Directory LDAP integration, we will get these roles and all the information from the central server. Okay, I think that I have given you 30-minute crash course in what is included in MSM. So is there anything that you want to have a look at and go more into details about?
Yeah, I think I might have a
Espen, thank
couple
you very
things.
much.
Go ahead, Jeremy, sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to say I appreciate it. We'll probably end the recording there, and then this way we can chat about questions and whatnot. So, yeah, feel free to call me.
Okay. Yeah, what I was curious about, so say we want to make a change across the board. Obviously, we would have different templates. So if you change it to that template, does it just propagate across everything, or do you still have to individually go modify each device?
If it's a change on the template, as in the site template here, that will propagate to all the systems that are set up according to that template.
Okay, so even if it's already been set, it's configured, it's up and running, say we went in there, we, like just to paint a scenario, say we wanted to change the low voltage battery disconnect and raise it up because we got a storm coming through the region. If we changed it in here, that would do it for everything, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
It's important to understand that is referring to the let's say how it's monitored in Multisite Monitor, whether to, let's say, just let me show you one example. If you go to one template and they say that, okay, I want to increase the energy target for solar energy to 10% or whatever. That would be the target for solar energy production in MSM, and MSM would then let you know in this site performance and underperforming views if the site meets that criteria or not. If you are going to do a change to the way that the controllers in the system is working, if, for instance, if you are changing battery disconnect voltage value or something in the control configuration, you will have to do it through a configuration file, which you can do either through this type of files, where you create an XML configuration file based on the changes you do to one site, and then you can distribute those to the sites you want to, or you can do it like I showed you. Let's see, just get back to the regular view here. The web view. So where you will see the different controllers, and you can do recording of the change in one of the controllers, save that to a file, and then you do a playback to the other sites. So then you would do change to actually the configuration of the controller, not just the MSM monitoring system. Was that an answer to your
Colton,
question?
this would be the way that you would want to make those changes, is through this multi-view.
Yep.
So we'd make it on one, record, and then play back to the rest of them, if I'm understanding that right then.
Exactly.
So is there a bulk way to do that, or would we have to do it? Because we've got over 42 of these things. And that list is growing.
Yeah, I think perhaps if you have a lot of sites, then the easiest is to do the change on one system, save the change log as XML, and then upload that XML configuration file into here, and then distribute those to the sites.
Okay. So if we were to do an actual bulk edit, this would be the proper way to do it then, is change it in XML and then propagate that down.
Yeah, that would probably be the easiest way, because then you could select.
Because I guess too, like another prime step, right, is say if we
or whatever.
Gotcha. Yeah, because another example I use too is like, say we change an NTP server on the network, or say we're rolling a bunch of stuff over. I'd like to just be able to change it in one spot. That way we don't have to do it, 42 times. We're trying to eliminate all the extra button clicking.
Yeah.
Especially for the price of this thing.
Yeah. Exactly.
And then can Multisite monitor alert on its own? Like, can we set alert parameters in here? Like, say if we wanted to send something off via wouldn't say an SMP trap, but if we just wanted to use something as basic as email, like say if a battery test failed, does MSM have the capability to send that out from there versus sending it from the rectifier?
Yes. Multisite can send it.
Okay.
So, of course, it depends how you want it. Multisite can send an email based on certain events that you define. or if you have an SNMP enabled system that sends traps from the controllers, you can set up a northbound SNMP system that will take the traps you define as important from the controllers and forward those into to a top level monitoring system if you have that kind. So a lot of our telecom customers have those kinds of setups.
Yeah, so this would alert, it would send it to our NMS system, and our NMS system would handle it from there, is what
Yep.
you're saying?
Yep.
Okay. Got it. And then do you guys have any experience working? Do you know if this product works flawlessly with SolarWinds or anything like that? I guess SolarWinds specifically, more so.
Yeah, solar and wind power, or
I believe
No, so
Solar
No,
SolarWinds
is
is
an
our,
SNMP program.
yeah.
yeah, that's what we use to monitor our network today is SolarWinds and Zabbix, but we're trying to phase out Zabbix and go towards SolarWinds. I didn't know if you guys had any experience working with that product before, if you know it'll plug directly in, or I know that might be a question for SolarWinds, but I just didn't know if you guys had any experience with that on your side.
Yeah, not that I am aware of. I would need to check with some of the engineers working with customers to set up, but I don't have the details on exactly what MMS systems we or NMS systems we have been.
Or at a minimum, can this system at least, forward the SNMP traps it receives from
Yeah.
the devices
Yeah.
on to, an
Absolutely.
NMS product or anything, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Then that should be fine. Yeah, okay, cool.
I think that's all I have at the moment. Jared, I don't know if you have anything else. Jacob, I know you've been quiet. Sure you've got a couple questions.
Yeah, I do have a few. My first one is with regards to polling devices. How often is it actually like requesting and getting new data from the rectifiers?
I think the default is every 10 seconds. That's also configurable somewhere. Yeah, I think it's every 10 seconds, but it's different intervals based on which data it is. But obviously for things like battery voltage, battery current, stuff like that are real time, we are pulling it every 10 seconds, and then for other variables like like remaining battery capacity or total battery capacity, things that don't really change that often, it's less frequent. So it's let's say different frequencies for different types of data.
Okay. And then the other thing, right now on our rectifier controllers, we're using all of the inputs on the input terminal for various types of alarms, door alarms, voltages, all that. Would those be getting sent to multi-site still? And if they are, would it be as like a pulled value where it's just checking in to see if that alarm input is actually alarming every minute or so, or would it actually be doing it via like SNMP traps?
I think let's say the way to ensure that you get the alarm as quickly as possible is through SNMP traps. The controller sends an SNMP trap when an alarm is triggered on the controller. Then MSM will have it instantly.
Okay. Yeah, that's all I have for now.
Espen, I know in the past you have offered to do a trial of MSM.
Yeah.
I don't know if that would be something you would be interested in. If you guys would be interested in looking at it for 30 days or so to see if it's going to do what you need it to do, if you're willing to try it out.
Yeah, we can take that part back internally. I guess, I think, Jeremy, you had sent over some pricing around the system. I didn't know if there was any way to sharpen that a bit or kind of take that offline and rediscuss that or.
Yeah, we can take a look.
I mean, it's taken us what, like, I think 2 months just to get this demo set up for various reasons. So, you know, as I guess the more time we've kind of sat on the sidelines, we keep growing the system and it keeps getting bigger and bigger, right? So we just want to kind of try to get ahead of that if we can. You know, I wish we had known about this product, I guess, in the beginning when we started with one, right? So now we're trying to go retrofit and add, you know, 40 something sites. So it's going to be a big out of budget chunk of, you know, a big purchase. So I didn't, you know, just trying to see what options are out there for it.
Sure.
Yeah, no, I suggest that you take that with Steve and Jeremy. But definitely,
Espen, will you go over the hardware requirement real quick? I know that changed a while back. This is all cloud-based now, right? We don't have to have it physically on a server, or just explain that part. Pardon me, I'm a networking dummy.
Yeah, well, it depends on what your preferences are. I mean, the easiest way, if you want to have a demo with your own network, it would be to have the server installed inside your own network. So the problem is that you need to have network access to the individual controllers. So
yeah, I think we'd prefer to have an on-premise solution if that's an option.
Yeah. I think that
just to limit our exposure, you know, risk of compromise and things like that.
See it that way.
Yeah, this is a very, very mission critical system that I don't think we want to expose out to the real world if we don't need to.
So for the kind of system, kind of network you have with, you had 42 sites. Did I catch that correctly?
Yeah, currently and growing, you know, we're going to probably add close to 20 a year.
Yeah. So I think for a demo, you could do that very simply. You need to have Microsoft SQL Server Express installed on that machine. It needs to be, say, a reasonable machine for this kind of use. I don't think there's any huge investment, so or any huge requirement. So as long as it meets the requirement to run SQL Express, I think you should be good.
Okay, so the system just runs on Windows Server and just needs SQL on the back end. Okay.
Yeah. Yes. But our experience is that for customers with less than, I think, 1,000 sites, then SQL Express is usually sufficient.
Yeah, we can support that, no problem.
Yeah. So, and then we will have one guy from our support team helping you to do the installation and set up the first sites, and say get you through the process of of being able to define your own sites. And then you can have a time license, limited license. And I guess that's it.
Sounds good. Well, yeah, I'm good on my end. If you guys can just reach back out and kind of, like I said, maybe we can revisit and rediscuss the pricing structure model. That's really all I need on my end.
Okay, yeah, we'll take a look and see what we can do.
Awesome.
All right, thanks everyone. I appreciate it.
All right. Appreciate everyone's time. Thank y'all.
Okay, thank you. Have a nice day.
All right. You
Thanks, all.
too. Bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye.